we're doing yet another eating video. This one, after getting a sacral stress fracture yet again, less than 14 months. Bones are crazy strong. Sacrum is crazy strong. If you're fracturing your sacrum, then yes, there could be some mechanical problems. Yes, you maybe could have helped reduce your odds of getting a fracture if you'd run more on soft surfaces and did more strength training, but the reality is eating is playing a big role in that. Not repairing, really, it should be thought. Not regenerating rapidly enough to keep up with the training, because the reality is you have to do the training. I didn't even train that much. I trained actually very little. So anyhow, the big talking point here is relative energy deficiency. So that's what today's video is about. Liquid calories, not advisable for someone who doesn't exercise a lot. So anyways, a good habit to get into is keeping up with the breakdown. And so today's just a moderate day. I'm probably only going to train, let's say, 3 hours, something like that. But if I want to get to dinner, having trained approximately 3 hours today, and if I want to get to dinner not needing to consume 2,500 to 3,000 calories for dinner, instead I want to be more, I find that I'm sleeping really good when I'm only having like 1,000 calories for dinner, then that requires me to have a huge breakfast, huge snacks, and basically get on a 3,000 calorie burn day in training. I will need to eat 6,200 or so of total calories, and thus I would need to eat 5,200, let's say, before 4:30.
Good. We're good.
But very simply, it is you burn energy during exercise, and then you also use energy to maintain all your cellular and hormonal processes. Those are two pieces of the puzzle. So I'm going to do this swim now. I'm going to burn approximately 800 calories in this swim. But then the body also has to maintain breathing, brain, heart, tissue turnover, all your hormones, bone regeneration, etc., etc., etc. And that all takes energy. So this is not a problem if you don't exercise very much, because typically, based on the fact that our society typically is in excess eating-wise, it's not a problem. When you're in excess, we've evolved to store body fat so that in times where you're not in excess, you're in deficit, you just burn some of the body fat, no problem. It's all good. It's literally a compensatory mechanism for this situation. Where things go awry, though, is when you train a lot and you slowly burn through your body fat until you start to get relatively low body fat, of which case then the body will also start to preserve the body fat, and instead of burning any more body fat, it'll just start to down-regulate all of those processes that you need to be a healthy, well-functioning, well-recovered person. And that's where things go awry, and that's what relative energy deficiency is long-term, because you're always chronically in an energy deficit. And by deficit, we mean you train 4,000 and your body needs, let's say, 3,000 to repair itself and maintain good hormones and tissue regeneration, but you only give it 5,000. So your net there on that particular day was 7,000. If you burned 4,000 and you needed 3, you needed to eat 7,000, but you only consumed 5. Well, the energy has to come from somewhere. So instead, the body says, well, I guess I don't need to expend 3,000 with tissue regeneration. And so then it slowly starts to down-regulate regeneration to meet that deficit. That's what relative energy deficiency is, when that compensatory mechanism begins to happen. Slowly not giving the body what it needs to replenish itself, to rebuild itself at the rate that you're breaking it down. And so it just slowly gets weaker and weaker at your weakest link point. And obviously for me, the sacrum bears massive amounts of stress as well. I have a unique gait, which probably puts some stress, but you can't really say I fractured both sides of it now, so it's not like because I limp one way or something. It's just the sacrum bears a lot of stress, and so it's going to have a lot of bone turnover there. And apparently certain bone actually is more susceptible to these types of stress fracture. It's called something like spongy bone, which is what happens to be in your sacrum, happens to be, I believe, in like your femoral head. Other areas that you hear, ribs, interestingly, fractured one of those too. And so these are ones that are, I guess, more susceptible to, because they're highly metabolic, they have high metabolic activity. They're more susceptible to this type of lack of regeneration speed. There you go. Easy. Well, you have to be preemptive. So you can't get behind, because now you're playing catch up. Meaning you have to preemptively understand how many calories you're going to burn today. 750 burn for the swim. So I already have to then eat 3,950 today. But then I also know I'm going to ride the bike for 90 minutes, and I'll burn at least 800 an hour, and that's another 1,200. Now we're at almost 5,200. Then I'm going to lift weights, another 200-300. So I'm looking at a solid 5,500 burn day. So if I want to only have to eat 1,000 calories for dinner, which is what I'm finding really, I sleep really well, I don't piss a lot, I don't wake up in the middle of the night having like weird cravings, like sugar cravings and crap, then I need to make it to 5 p.m. having already consumed 4,500. So you crunch the numbers on that. You know what I mean? You have to be eating a lot between waking up at 7 basically and having already ate 4,500 by 4 o'clock. You've got to be eating a lot. Eating 7,000, like you have to remember, it's been a blessing. This has been a blessing getting injured from the standpoint of that it's allowing me to cultivate habits that will be integral to me training well when I do get back to full tilt training. Right now I'm still at a very reduced quantity of training, and so it's allowing me to develop habits that are going to allow me to consume 7,000 calories a day, even though I'm only today going to consume around 5,500. This is sort of the pathway to being able to do that consistently. So I would say for people who exercise a lot, consuming liquid calories is a very big piece of the puzzle. And if you don't exercise a lot, conversely, not consuming liquid calories is a big piece of the puzzle. Do you know what I mean? Because this is how you can easily put in a lot of calories, either if you need a lot of calories or if you shouldn't be eating a lot of calories. As well, on the bike in particular, for me, I'm not running right now, the bike, I burn a lot of calories on the bike because it makes sense actually why you burn a lot on the bike, because you have continuous surface that you're applying force with the biggest muscles in your body. And so I would say pretty easily can burn 1,000 calories an hour on a bicycle. And so that's a massive deficit. The way I used to do it, 75, 80 was like, ooh, wow, I'm doing good, you know? And normal, not pushing myself, natural tendency would be 50.
Grams an hour?
50 grams of carbs an hour, yeah, burning 1,000, easily burning 1,000. On my workouts, when I get fit, leading into St. George, for instance, when I was starting to get pretty fit, I'm pushing average power over 2 hours. My 3-hour averages were over 300, which is like almost 1,100 calories burned per hour, And if you're only consuming 50 or 60 grams an hour, that's just such a massive deficit that you can't really overcome, It's just so difficult to overcome, which is fine 1 time, 2 times even, 3. Heck, we went back and looked at the Kona camp last year. You can compensate for probably 5 days, but then you're in a hole now, And really, training is about consistency, consistently applying a stimulus for a very long period of time. Not on the magnitude of days, months, years. That's the magnitude we're talking. And I, from not really doing these such basic and fundamental things very well, have not been able to string more than 4 or 5 months of training together. Literally. In a while now. A long time, really. You know what I mean? 3 fractures in 14 months. How could you possibly be stringing training together if you've been 3 fractures in 14 months? And so, therefore, you have a lot of upside is what that means when you do figure out how to string some training together. Let's just be thorough here. I burned right off the top 1460, and it was hot, so even more really, which you can't really account for very accurately. Anyhow, I got a lot of cows to go, so let's not waste space with water. Plus, you need to eat a lot of protein, you know?
You're having a second shake on the day.
Yeah, and then I'm going to eat. This is a small one. I'm going to literally have this with food.
Already put some spinach, banana, momentous. What makes you do momentous?
Because you need a lot of protein because you're having such frequent tissue breakdown muscularly. Also, to be honest with you, because I've not really allowed myself to be in a surplus, I actually don't really know what my actual weight should be. You know what I mean? I had more muscle 10 years ago than I do now. And so I would like to, if my body needs muscle to perform better, to do these demands that I ask of it, then I'm going to give it the inputs to build that muscle, which I've not done in a decade.
What do you eat now?
Nuts. Good for you.
We can't even keep up with all you're eating.
Good for you. This puts me over 4,300 at 325. 335.
And what's next on the agenda?
Weightlifting.
You're a big weightlifter?
Big weightlifter. Big into weightlifting.
You are going to be competing with Hunter McIntyre soon.
I won't be competing with him, but one day I would like to participate in a high rocks competition. That would be fun. It looks like a lot of fun.
Do you think that you will stay on this eating track, like this nutrition plan?
As an athlete, like as a pro, I would almost argue being cognizant of your eating calorie-wise is probably something everyone should do.
Did you not used to do
Not
it?
just athletes. Athletes, it's like we all talk about how recovery is key. I mean, what is recovery? What is recovery? That's such an ambiguous term.
Sleeping?
It's repair. It's repairing yourself. You repair when you sleep, absolutely. But without energy to repair, you won't repair adequately. Without the substrate with which repair is done, energy, you won't repair. So as an athlete, this is the absolute fundamental piece of the puzzle here.
Do you believe that this stress fracture was more of a form thing?
I
if
did.
you fix your form.
So in 2019, definitely had suspicions that it was a form thing and a, let's say, volume, too much volume, too quick, too much pavement type issue. This time, though, I would say that's not even really a thought of mine this time. That's not even... Should I have done maybe a little more soft surface running? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that would just be good for you, kind to yourself, to do more soft surface running.
But what point?
Run mechanics, though? No, I don't think run mechanics is a contributor here. And a large piece of my rationale on that is that because I had what's considered to be a very weird, obscure stress fracture not that long prior, which was my rib. One of my ribs fractured 13 months prior. And we were like, who the F fractures a rib? You're not even very good at swimming. Like, if you were a sprinter, like a big, big, powerful guy, that would be maybe more plausible. But in your case, a fairly weak swimmer doing very low volume swimming by swim standards, to fracture a rib, that doesn't even make sense. No one understood that. I'm talking nobody. We consulted with lots of people on that. That made sense to no one. Oh, but when you start to think of it, though, under a nutrition scope, then it starts to make a little more sense. Absolutely, your bones will break. Absolutely is my gait contributing to stress in the sacral area. Of course it's contributing. I promise you, though, you can go to a local track club and you will find every season beautiful, mechanically sound runners getting stress fractures every single season at every single track club. So it's not completely mechanics. It's more fundamental than that.
But how do you know your nutrition's bad? Have you done like blood work and stuff?
Oh, of course. Yes. I mean, I have every symptom of Red S. Every single symptom. I have quite low testosterone, quite low iron, quite low T3, I think it's called, something, a thyroid type hormone, low estrogen, low, I'm not a doctor here, so, I have the blood work to back up that I have a lot of the signs, including and metabolic distress, sleep like shit, feel like shit. Those are all symptoms that are more rooted in nutrition, which is why we have done so many I'm going to clean up my eating videos. You know what I mean? Because we're like, oh, you're eating like shit. That's why. We've always known it was nutritional. We've known this. We've had an intuition that it was nutritional problems with with your health. And now, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, it's nutritional, all right. You don't eat enough food. That's the main nutrition problem, and misattributing it to the quality, which of course is important, but misattributing a calorie deficit to a nutrient deficit is incorrect and actually worsened the problem and accelerated the issue.
And how many is this?
I would have to calculate, but I would be confident to say that with the drink, it's in that ballpark.
Lionel, I completely missed it. Your bowl of ice cream.
I had a bowl of ice cream, that's right. 61 grams
And
worth
what
of
time
ice
is it?
cream. When I finished, it was 6:58.
So
that will be my last bite of food until after probably close to 7:30 tomorrow. So that's a huge behavioral change that has come about from this learning about energy and how you'd like to prioritize energy while you use it predominantly.
all right, so I'm having you weigh yourself one more time to finish the day.
Sure.
For context, you weighed about 150, high 150s after St. George, 157.
Right now I weigh 172.5.
So you'll stay on eating like this.
Well, the fact, I told you earlier that I don't know what I should weigh for optimal peak performance because I have not been eating. I weighed around these quantities back when I ate like complete shit, but I also trained the house down. Like I was training insane amounts, both in terms of volume and intensity. I could absorb such massive quantities of training. And it's perplexed me for a long time what happened in that. Well, I started to clean up my diet. And so in doing so, that's great. You should clean up your diet. But in doing so, I also reduced my calorie intake and thus something's got to give. So what gave? Well, I trained less and less and less and less. And then there was memes being created after Oceanside. I remember one of them being something like, wait till he starts training 10 hours a week. Think of how good he's going to do. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't really make sense. It actually doesn't, it really kind of defies aerobic adaptations. Why would low volume work good for you?
You know what I mean? That you're just providing very little stimulus. And the reality is, as you get fitter, you need more stimulus. It's like the law of diminishing returns. You need more to have a further increase once you're already pretty fit. And so that doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really agree. I've been able to do okay. I've never reached my full potential, but I've been able to do okay in that context. I can absorb massive amounts of training. I know I can. I've done it. What has been the missing link? As far as I can tell, literally, it's very, 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 very fundamental. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So then you have to change something. So train less, and your body will downgrade. Also, very important recovery processes. I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it at all. Lots of guys have talked about it. I didn't listen because I didn't think it applied to me. So why am I talking about it? For that very reason, yes. Because a lot of people who are in these situations don't really understand what the problem is and have poor recovery, injuries, poor performances. They're like, I don't get it. I don't understand how it happened. And this, in many instances, will be a contributor.
But do you not think that like a lot of people in the comments kind of like laughed at you for talking about ED and all this eating stuff and all that? Like, do you not care about that?
What do you mean by that?
Like
they laughed at me? Do I care that they laughed at me?
They're making like memes and stuff online.
No, I'm all for it. I think triathlon is boring for the most part, and the more fun we have, the better. So please, give as many negative comments and make as much fun of me as you possibly can. I don't ever see it, so it doesn't affect me.
But do you think...
And it's great. I was shown some of the memes, though, and there were some good ones. There were some funny ones. They were good. Good job. Keep it up.
Do you think it's good to raise awareness on this eating topic, though? Because do you think it's a
This isn't a problem for a lot of people, because a lot of people have a lot of body fat, so you don't really have to worry about it. If you've got body fat, you're up over 5% anyway, then 6, 7, 8, 10%. It shouldn't be a huge problem because you'll burn the body fat off. You know what I mean? That's always the argument why you should become more aerobically fit, because you have unlimited fat stores that you can burn. That's always the argument, which is totally valid and true.
But is there other pro athletes that have similar injuries? Pro triathletes?
I mean, go take a poll on pro tri news. How many people have had stress fractures? I would say just about every pro has had a stress fracture, right?
What about even recently? Sacrum stress fracture.
Sacrum stress fractures are extremely common. They're not really very talked about because for many different reasons, which we don't need to go into, but sacrum stress fractures are common in triathlon. We also do relatively high volume. If you think about the fact that I train low volume and I'm averaging, prior to this injury into Oceanside and into St. George, I was probably averaging 18 hours of training per week, which is relatively low volume. By running standards, that's like higher than most runners run, right? Swimming standards, that's a lot of swimming. 18 hours at the professional level of swimming. They are covering a lot of distance in 18 hours of swimming. That would be a very high volume swim program. So it is a high volume program, even the low volume version of it, which means it's very difficult to stay on top of the energy. And keep in mind here, nothing is cut and dry. So some people, this will not be a problem for. Perhaps Magnus Ditlev, he doesn't need to think about his eating. Perhaps his mental signals are appropriate and he eats enough and rests frequently enough, and for some reason his brain and body interact properly and he eats enough food to stay on top of proper recovery. I, on the other hand, don't and won't if I don't track it, log it, just like my training. You know what I mean? Like, I have to track it and log it. That's what I learned, because I will never eat enough. I will always be short. I will every now and then, by chance, eat enough. Particularly when I eat shitty foods, when I go to McDonald's for breakfast and then I have Jersey Mike's for lunch. Those days, I'm probably usually on top of it. But if I also try and eat relatively healthy, I will not eat enough food and I will chronically be in a deficit. We did that in Kona. I'm not preaching anything. I don't care. I'm telling you my experience. I've done it for 15 years. I've had ups and downs. I've had stress fractures. I've had injuries. I've had bad training periods, really good training periods. I've had bad races, really good races. And with certainty, there is a correlation between my eating quantity, let's just say calories, and the ups and downs. There is a very strong correlation there. So yeah, if it's a problem for you, then do something about it. And if it's not a problem, then move on to the next video.